Let me take you back. About 3 years ago now, when life felt a little more ordinary. Or at least, that's what I told myself back then. I was 26, single, scraping by on freelance graphic design gigs. The kind that paid just enough to cover rent, but left you staring at a screen until your eyes burned. My apartment was on the 4th floor of this run-down red brick building, tucked away on the outskirts of a mid-sized city, where the suburbs bled into empty lots and overgrown weeds. It wasn't much. 1 bedroom, a kitchenette that smelled faintly of old grease, and walls so thin you could hear the couple next door arguing about whose turn it was to take out the trash. The elevator was unreliable at best, always groaning like it was on its last legs, so most nights I'd just take the stairs, letting my footsteps echo in the dim, flickering hallway light. That night, or I suppose it was early morning by then, the clock on my laptop read 2:17 a.m. I'd been hunched over revisions for a logo project, the kind where the client kept changing their mind about the font, and my back was starting to ache from the cheap desk chair. Hunger hit me like a wave, that deep, gnawing kind that makes your hands shake a little. I hadn't eaten since lunch the day before, a sad sandwich from the corner deli, and now my stomach was protesting loud enough to drown out the hum of my fan. So, like I did on too many of those late nights, I grabbed my phone, opened the delivery app, and scrolled through the options. Most places were closed. Ghosts of neon signs in the app's faded thumbnails. But there was that one 24-hour burger spot, about 8 minutes away by car. The kind of place with greasy menus and fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry hornets. Double cheeseburger, extra pickles because I liked the crunch, large fries, Coke, no ice, so it stayed cold longer. I hit place order. Added a generous tip, 20%, because who wants to drag themselves out at this hour? And set the phone down, trying to squeeze in one more edit while I waited. The cursor blinked mockingly on the screen, and I rubbed my eyes, wondering how I'd ended up here, alone in a city that felt too big, too quiet after dark. 27 minutes ticked by, slower than usual, until the notification chimed. Your driver's arriving now. A generic photo of a smiling guy in a vest. Name, Alex. 5 stars from previous drops. I didn't think twice. Pulled on the gray hoodie I'd left draped over the chair, the one with the frayed cuffs from too many washes. Slipped into my flip-flops, the rubber slapping against the linoleum as I headed for the door. The stairs were cooler than I expected. A draft whispering up from the lobby, carrying the faint scent of rain-soaked concrete from outside. Ground floor hallway, dead silent except for the vending machine's low drone. And that one fluorescent bulb flickering like it was about to give up. I pushed the heavy front door open, the hinges creaking just enough to make me glance over my shoulder, and stepped into the night air. It was crisp, carrying the distant hum of traffic from the highway. And there he was, already waiting, under the sodium orange glow of the street lamp, holding the red insulated bag like it was an afterthought. Mid-20s? Maybe. Hard to tell with the baseball cap pulled so low over his eyes. Zipped halfway, no name tag visible in the shadows. He looked up as I approached. Expression neutral, and extended the bag without a word. I took it, the warmth seeping through the paper, muttered a quick thanks, and turned to head back inside. That's when he spoke. Voice flat, almost casual, like we were old neighbors chatting about the forecast. "Hey, just a heads up. Be careful with that bedroom window of yours. The latch is busted. Doesn't lock right anymore." Time stopped. My hand tightened on the bag, the fries shifting inside with a soft rustle. And I turned slowly, feeling the first prickle of sweat at the back of my neck despite the chill. That window, the one in my bedroom, overlooking the back parking lot where the dumpsters overflowed on trash day, had been jimmied open 5 weeks earlier. It was during that freak storm, the one that knocked out power for half the block. Wind howling like something alive, and I'd forced the sash down too hard. Snap. The metal latch gave way. Clean break, leaving a jagged edge that caught my thumb when I tested it. I'd wedged a piece of cardboard in the gap. Told myself it was temporary. That I'd email the landlord Monday morning. But Monday came and went, and so did the next, until it became just another thing I ignored. 4th floor? No fire escape on that side. Just sheer brick wall pocked with old ivy scars. Who'd bother climbing 35 feet for a peek inside? Except, I hadn't mentioned it to anyone. Not my mom during our weekly call, where she asked if I was eating right. Not my buddy from college, the one who crashed on my couch last month and complained about the draft. Not even the super, when he came by for the smoke detector battery. Nobody knew. So I swallowed. My throat suddenly dry as dust, and forced the words out. How? How the hell did you know about my window? He tilted his head slightly, the streetlight catching the edge of his jaw, and offered this faint, almost imperceptible shrug. A half smile flickered, gone as quick as it came, like he'd just shared an inside joke I wasn't in on. "I noticed things," he said simply. "Night." And that was it. He turned, footsteps soft on the cracked sidewalk, toward the silver Civic idling at the curb. Exhaust pipe puffing faint clouds into the cool air. Door clicked open. He slid in. Taillights flared red, and he was gone, swallowed by the empty street. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe a minute, maybe 2. The bag growing heavier in my grip. Grease spots blooming on the bottom. The night felt heavier now, shadows stretching longer under the lamps, and every rustle from the bushes across the lot made my pulse jump. Finally, I bolted inside, door slamming harder than I meant, deadbolt twisting with a satisfying thunk. Up the stairs, 2 at a time, flip-flops slapping echoes that sounded too loud, until I was back in the apartment. Door locked again, chain on for good measure. I didn't eat. The burger sat forgotten on the counter, cheese congealing under the wrapper, while I paced the living room. Every light switched on until the place glowed like a beacon. My eyes kept drifting to the bedroom door, cracked open just enough to see the gap in the curtains, where the window waited, silent and vulnerable. What if he'd seen it on a previous drop? But I'd never ordered from there before. Not that late. Not from that app. Maybe the building talk? Tenants gossiping in the laundry room? But who would have known the exact latch? The exact room? The questions looped, tighter and tighter, until dawn crept in. Gray light filtering through the blinds, and exhaustion finally pulled me to the couch. But sleep didn't come easy. just fitful dozes haunted by the creak of settling floors, and the what-ifs that wouldn't quit. At 5:03 a.m., the alarm on my phone jolted me awake, heart racing like I'd run a mile. I stumbled to the kitchen drawer, yanked out the screwdriver, a roll of duct tape, and dragged the wooden chair from the dining nook. Bedroom felt foreign now. Air thicker. Shadows clinging to the corners like they didn't want to leave. I climbed up, the chair wobbling under my weight, and peered at the window. The gap was there, innocent in the morning light, but I could almost feel eyes on the other side. Screwdriver bit into the frame. Tape layered thick, overlapping until it was sealed like a crime scene. It wouldn't stop a determined push, but it was something. Anything. 2 days later, I couldn't take it anymore. Called the landlord, gave my 30-day notice, paid the early termination fee without haggling. Packing was a blur. Boxes half filled with clothes and takeout containers, leaving behind the coffee maker, the posters peeling at the edges. Anything that tied me to that place. New apartment. Across town. Higher rent, but windows that locked solid. I still order late sometimes, when deadlines bite too deep. But now, I suit up, head down to the sidewalk, meet them under the light where everyone can see, and every buzz, every arriving now, my gut twists until I spot the face. Confirm it's just some tired stranger with no clue about the cracks in my world. That guy, Alex, or whatever his name was, never popped up again. Same app, same spot, different drivers, faces blurring into one another. His profile, gray silhouette now, like he was never real. I don't know how he knew. Part of me replays it on bad nights, wondering if it was a fluke, a lucky guess, or something darker. But deep down, I think it's better not to dig. Some notices you just let fade into the night. This one still haunts me to this day. Even though it was 4 years ago now. Back when I was 28. Living on my own in that small 2-bedroom rental house on the outskirts of the suburbs outside Charlotte, North Carolina. The house was nothing special. Peeling white paint on the siding. A driveway cracked from years of neglect. The neighborhood itself was quiet, and the roads leading in and out were long, winding stretches of asphalt with no shoulders. It was a Thursday in late October. The air had that crisp chill to it, leaves crunching under tires. And I just wrapped up a grueling 12-hour shift at the office doing remote tech support for a software company out west. My eyes were red and burning from staring at screens all day. My neck stiff like someone had poured cement in my shoulders. And all I could think about was getting home, microwaving something quick, and crashing on the couch with the TV on for noise. I was in my 2012 Honda Civic. Silver, with a dent on the rear bumper from when I'd backed into a parking post at the mall a year earlier. The heater barely blowing warm air because the thermostat was going bad. And the windows cracked an inch or two to let in the cold night breeze since the AC had given out months ago and I kept putting off the repair. The radio was off. Every station seemed to be blasting commercials or static. So the only sounds were the hum of the engine, the faint rattle from a loose panel in the dashboard, and the occasional whoosh of wind through the window cracks. My route home was the same every night. 23 minutes of back roads to skip the interstate tolls and traffic. Past the old strip mall with half the stores boarded up and a flickering open sign in the pawn shop window. Past the abandoned Sunoco gas station with weeds growing through the pumps. And then onto the long, dark ribbon of Oak Ridge Lane. 2 lanes, no center divider, nothing but towering pines pressing in on both sides like walls. I was about 6 minutes into Oak Ridge when I first glanced in the rearview mirror and saw them. 2 small white headlights, hanging back maybe 100 yards, just floating there in the complete blackness, not moving closer, not falling away. At first I shrugged it off. People take these roads all the time, even late. But something about how steady they were, like they were locked in place, made the hairs on my arms stand up under my jacket. I came to the 4-way stop at Miller Road, slowed almost to a stop, and watched those lights slow too, matching me perfectly. I turned left onto the next stretch. They turned left. My mind started racing. Was it a cop? No flashing lights. A drunk? Too steady. I pressed the gas a bit harder. 55 and a 45. And the car behind accelerated just the same. Not closing in, not dropping back. Sweat started beading on my forehead despite the chill. My hands gripping the wheel tighter. Palms slick. And I hit the lock button on the doors even though they were already secure. To test it, I took a random right onto Pinecrest Drive, a street that loops in a big circle and dumps right back onto Oak Ridge. No reason to take it unless you're lost. No houses, no lights, just more trees and shadows. The headlights followed. Same distance. Same unhurried pace, like whoever was driving knew exactly where I was going. I finished the loop, heart pounding in my ears now, breathing shallow, and decided I wasn't heading home. Not with this thing on my tail. I turned left toward the 24-hour Harris Teeter 4 miles away. The only spot open with bright lights, security cameras, and people milling around even at midnight. The car turned left too. I pushed the Civic to 65, white-knuckling the wheel, mirror checks every few seconds. Those lights still there, unwavering. Pulled into the parking lot, parked right under the biggest floodlight by the entrance, engine idling, foot ready on the gas. The sedan rolled past slowly. Dark 4-door, windows tinted black. Couldn't make out the driver or a plate in the shadows. It turned right at the exit and vanished. I sat there 20 full minutes, watching every vehicle that entered, jumping at headlights, until my hand stopped shaking. Took the long way home. More turns than needed. No one behind me. Got inside around 12:40 a.m., locked everything, checked rooms, and collapsed on the couch with all lights on. Barely slept. Dozing in fits, waking to every creak the house made. Friday night came too soon. Same shift, same fatigue pulling at my eyelids. As I left work, I opened Waze right there in the parking lot, punched in my address, and for the first time in months, it suggested a faster route. 19 minutes instead of 23, claiming an accident had blocked part of Oak Ridge Lane. I took it. Turning onto Old Mill Road, a narrow, twisting 2-lane path through dense woods and open fields. No houses for miles. No streetlights. just the occasional reflector flashing in my headlights. I had the sound muted, as always, preferring silence to the robotic voice. Just followed the blue line on the screen. About 5 minutes in, the phone suddenly spoke. That calm female voice cutting through the quiet like a knife. In 1 mile, turn right on unmarked road. I glanced down. Nothing on the map. No turn, no road. Just straight blue line through black. Then I checked the mirror, and there they were again. Those same headlights. Half a mile back. Steady as before. The voice came back. Louder this time. Insistent. Turn right now. A dirt cutoff appeared on the right. Barely a path between the trees. No sign. No gravel. Just mud and shadows. I didn't turn. I slammed the gas. 85 on a road rated for 40. Tires screaming on the curves. Engine whining. The headlights stayed locked. Never gaining. Never losing ground. One last message from the phone. Soft now. Almost whispering. Recalculating. You are being followed. Take the interstate immediately. The screen blinked black. Phone cold in my hand. Battery at 87%, but dead as stone. I yanked the wheel at the next crossroads. Jumped onto I-485. 35 minutes total instead of 19. 12 minutes longer than usual. But the highway had semis rumbling by. Other cars with headlights cut in the dark. Streetlights every 50 feet like sentinels. No sign of the sedan. I take that highway every night now. Even when it's empty at midnight. Even when the app says it's just 12 minutes extra. Some routes you learn to avoid forever. Because 12 minutes is nothing compared to looking back and seeing those lights again.
This happened to me 2 years ago. Back when I was 24 and had just moved into a 1-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor of an old brick building in Richmond, Virginia. The place was cheap for a reason. Creaky hardwood floors, windows that stuck, and a back door that led straight out to a shared stairwell nobody ever used after dark. It was a Sunday night in early March. Cold, drizzly. The kind of weather that keeps everyone inside. I'd spent the whole day binge watching a show on my laptop. Still in the same sweatpants and oversized hoodie. Hair in a messy bun. Phone on the coffee table charging. Around 11:20 p.m., I was lying on the couch scrolling TikTok. Half asleep. When the screen lit up with a WhatsApp notification. The preview just said photo. And the contact name was my own number. I thought it was a glitch. Sometimes the app does weird things when you're on Wi-Fi and cellular at the same time. So I opened it. It was a picture of me. Taken less than 2 seconds earlier. From the corner of the living room. Right behind the couch. Looking down at me, lying there. Phone glowing on my face. Blanket half kicked off. Exactly how I was positioned. Under the photo, a single message. Stop leaving the back door open. My blood turned to ice. I sat up so fast the blanket hit the floor. Stared at the corner where the photo had been taken from. Empty. The back door was 10 feet away. Down the short hallway. And I never locked it because the stairwell was supposedly key access only. I grabbed the biggest knife from the kitchen block, turned on every light, and walked toward that door with the phone in my shaking hand. It was open 3 inches, just enough for someone to see straight into the living room. I slammed it shut, locked the deadbolt, dragged the small bookshelf in front of it, and stood there, listening for footsteps on the metal stairs outside. Nothing. I checked every closet. Under the bed, behind the shower curtain, the fire escape window, everywhere. The apartment was empty. Then another message came through. Same number. Another photo. This one was me standing in the hallway. Knife raised. Taken from the exact same corner. Less than 30 seconds after I'd left the couch. The caption, "Good girl." I called the police right then. Voice shaking so bad the dispatcher asked me to repeat everything twice. They came in under 8 minutes. Searched the whole building. The stairwell. The roof. Every apartment that would let them in. They found nothing. No footprints in the drizzle outside. No cameras in the stairwell. No sign anyone had been there. The officer told me it was probably someone spoofing my number. Using an app. Maybe a creepy ex. But I knew it wasn't. Because when I finally unblocked the back door the next morning to leave, there was a single wet footprint on the mat inside. Size 13. Pointing toward the living room. I moved out 2 days later. Changed my number. And I still triple check every door. Every night. No matter where I live.